يسألونك نافيا وماذا متقبلا ورزقا واسعا وعافية من كل ضار وشفاء من كل مرض وذكرا لكل خير وشكرا على كل نعمة. اللهم زدني علما ومالا وهدى ورحمة وعافية وتوفيقا للخير وحفظا من الشر. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, dear brothers and sisters. Today I will be sharing a very important story of the Prophet Musa alayhi salam. Okay, so now let's start the story. Bismillah. Okay, so the Prophet Musa alayhi salam, the king treated him specially. The king, sorry, my bad. So after the Prophet Yusuf alayhi salam initially moved from their hometown from Palestine to Egypt, and then the Bani Israel, the children of so Prophet Yaqub his other name was Israel, and then so his children were called Bani Israel, or children of Israel. Okay, and then in Egypt, over the years, Prophet Yaqub and his children had a good life. The king treated them as his special guest because of Prophet Yusuf alayhi salam. After his death, slowly the children of Israel were forced to become slaves to the Pharaoh, the ruler of Egypt. During that hard time, with the blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the family Bani Israel got bigger and bigger. About 400 years later, one bad pharaoh named Ramses started to rule Egypt. He was a very bad ruler. He forced his people and his children, and the children of Bani Israel, to obey him like a god, not his children. He even invented some gods for his people so they could worship him. One day, the pharaoh, the king, saw a dream that a fire came from the Palestine and burned the Egyptian houses and idols, but there was no harm to the children of Israel. After woken up from his sleep, he called all of the smartest people to find the meaning of his dream. They said a boy would be born in a family of Bani Israel to destroy the Egyptians. Then he ordered to kill all the newborn boys to protect Egypt from Bani Israel. After a few years, the Pharaoh's advisors told him that in the future he would not have any workers to do his job because olds were dying and newborns were being killed. So Pharaoh decided one year he would kill all the newborn boys, and next year he would not kill any newborn boys. Okay, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is a big planner. Prophet Harun was born in the year when Pharaoh did not kill newborn boys. But Prophet Musa was born in the year when the Pharaoh ordered to kill all newborn boys. So the Prophet Musa's mother took care of him in secret. She was very scared and did not know how to protect Musa from the evil Pharaoh. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala inspired Prophet Musa's mother to put him into a basket and float the basket into the Nile River. The mother had complete faith on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so she followed the order and let her daughter follow the basket. To follow Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's order, the Nile River took the basket to the riverbank of the king's palace. One servant found the basket with the baby and took it to the Pharaoh and his queen. The queen was a believer on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and she was very kind-hearted. She did not have any children. When she saw the beautiful baby boy, Musa alayhi salam, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put strong love in her for the baby. She hugged the baby and requested her husband not to kill him. Maybe he would be good for them and keep him as their son. Pharaoh accepted his wife's request, so they called a few women to feed him, but the baby Musa refused them all. In the meantime, Prophet Musa's sister informed them about a woman who was good to feed the babies. Then they believed her and told her to bring that woman. Do you know that woman? My bad. Do you know who that woman was? If you guys know who that woman was? And then the woman was Musa's mother. So they reunited then. It's just very confusing now. That woman was Prophet Musa's mother. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala promised, she got back her child. The child started to drink his mother's milk then. But I feel like so many people are going to be dirty-minded after this video, but let me continue. But Pharaoh was worried and asked why the baby only took her milk and refused others. She did not scare. She replied her milk was sweet and her milk had sweet smell, so no child could refuse her. This answer satisfied Pharaoh. From that day, she started to take care of her son in Pharaoh's palace without being worried. One day, baby Musa holds Pharaoh's beard and starts to shake very hard. Pharaoh and his people did not like this action, even even though he could be that baby who would destroy Egypt. So they decided to kill baby Musa alayhi. But Pharaoh's wife requested him not to kill an innocent baby, so they put the baby in test. In front of him, they put one burned coal and a beautiful pearl. If the baby would hold the pearl, it was smart, and the baby was smart, and they would kill the baby. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's wish, baby Musa held the burned coal and started to cry. That made Pharaoh calm, so Musa was safe and raised in the palace as a prince. When he grew up, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave him good health, strength, knowledge, and wisdom. One day, he saw an Egyptian was beating a man of Bani Israel. He became very mad and hit the Egyptian, who died on the spot. He immediately realized that he killed a human. He became very sorry and begged forgiveness from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. After that, he always showed more patience and sympathy towards people. The next day, he saw the same person from Bani Israel involved in another fight with another Egyptian. Musa realized that the person from Bani Israel was a troublemaker, so he became very upset on that Bani Israel. That person became scared to see Musa and asked, "Would you kill me as you killed the Egyptian yesterday?" The Egyptian heard the news and reported to the Pharaoh. Okay, I'm sorry. Back now. Okay, so yeah, and then he advised them. They advised him to they advised the Pharaoh to worship Allah Subhanahu wa Taala alone. Okay, my voice is literally so tired right now. But he asked them, "What do you want?" Musa alayhi salam requested him to free the children of Israel and let them go with him. Guys, I feel like I'm only gonna do a part two, maybe our part. I actually, oh, this is so confusing. I might get my friend Soda to do the other part, so maybe that'll be better. Okay, I'm drunk water. Why should I let go my slaves? That's what the Pharaoh asked. Musa told him they were not his slaves. Their owner is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He and his brother were the messenger of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The Pharaoh told him he saved the Pharaoh told he saved him when he was a child and took care of him many years. Then he killed a man and escaped. Prophet Musa tried to convince him that everything was in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's plan because he was forced the children of Israel to be a slave. Wait, I'm confused. Wait, one sec, guys. I don't know. So the Pharaoh, I'm sorry, guys. So the Pharaoh forced the children of Israel to be a slave. The Pharaoh asked him, "Who is this? Who is this Allah?" Prophet Musa salam tried to explain him about Allah Almighty, but he was arrogant. He even threatened Prophet Musa salam that he could send him to prison. Prophet Musa salam showed him two miracles. He threw a stick, and the stick became a very big snake. Then he brought his right hand from his left side, and his hand became very white and shiny. The arrogant prophet Pharaoh, sorry, my voice is pretty confused now. The arrogant Pharaoh thought that was just a magic. He talked to the advisor and threw them into the prison. Oh my gosh, guys, sorry, my voice is very confused. So I will try this time. So I probably can add a short description for this. And he called all the best magicians from the country to compete with Musa during a huge festival, where people came from all over Egypt. More and more people started to come when they heard of the greatest contest between Pharaoh's best magicians and a single man who claimed to be a prophet. Best magicians were very respected by the society. Okay, I can't pronounce words when I'm tired. Society. Okay, society. I don't know. I'm definitely not. I'm not pronouncing it right, but I'll try my best with the tired voice. Before the contest began, Musa warned the magicians not to lie about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's miracle. If they were not truthful, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would destroy them with a big punishment. They made them think, but they made them think, but they were greedy for money and glory. They started their performance. First, they threw their objects on the ground by magic. Their objects became snakes. People were so surprised to see that Pharaoh and his men became very happy. Then Prophet Musa drew a stick. It became a very large snake and ate all the magicians one by one. Then he picked up the snake and it turned to stick again. People were amazed to see that miracle. All the magicians realized that Musa was a true prophet of Allah. They immediately believed him and said, "We are believing the Lord of Musa and Harun." They fell down in prostration to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The Pharaoh became very angry to the magicians and threatened to kill them if they believed in Allah. But the magicians had strong faith on Allah, Musa and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the Pharaoh ordered his people to cut the magicians' hands and feet from behind and hang them on the palm trees to kill them. But they showed their strong faith to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in front of thousands and thousands of people. The people did nothing and they stood by and watched the horrible event. If all the people believed in Musa and protested against the Pharaoh, the Egyptian history could change. So later they had to pay the price of their action. After losing with Musa, Pharaoh was extremely upset. He didn't know what to do. He called all his advisors. Before that day, he established that he was the Egyptian god. But in front of Musa, this proved he was wrong. So he called his minister, Haman, I think. The Pharaoh said, "Am I a liar?" Haman said, "Who dared to tell you a liar?" To make Pharaoh happy, Haman said Musa was lying. Then the Pharaoh declared his famous historical line: "O my people, I do not know you have any God other than me." Pharaoh ordered his people to make a tall tower so he could meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When they realized it was impossible to make such a tower, they tried to convince Pharaoh that he could not find any God at heaven, because Pharaoh was the only God. Pharaoh became very happy. The Prime Minister Haman asked him what they should do with Musa and his people, because they would convince other people to not accept Pharaoh as their God. Pharaoh ordered his people to kill Bani Israel's sons, to do a bad job with their women, and to keep anyone in prison whoever complained about them. Prophet Musa became very sad. He did not have any power to protect his people from evil Pharaoh. He requested his people to keep patience and to ask help from their one and only God, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In that difficult time, he had to deal with the richest man of the Bani Israel. His name was Karun. His English name was Kora. He was very rich. He used to live in a very big mansion and wore very expensive clothes. He had many slaves. He was such a rich that to carry the keys of his treasure box, he had a group of healthy slaves. He treated very badly with poor people. Prophet Musa told him to pay tax or zakat to the poor people because believers had to follow subhanahu wa ta'ala's law. Rich people have to share some of rich people have to share some of their wealth to the poor. That's called zakat. All prophets had almost the same kind of law as Islam is not a new religion. It is the same religion for Prophet Adam Islam. Then Karun did not like Prophet Musa Islam's advice. He thought he was very smart. That's all subhanahu wa ta'ala made him the richest person among Bani Israel. Prophet Musa Islam warned him if he would not follow subhanahu wa ta'ala's order, Allah would put him in a big punishment. After calculation, he realized he needs to pay a big amount of zakat, so he refused to pay any zakat to the poor, and telling people about that, the Prophet Musa invented a new law about zakat for his own benefit. So he even made people think bad about, he even made people say bad about Prophet Musa. All they became very mad at Karun. So he opened the earth and swallowed him, his mansion, and all of his wealth, as if he never existed. And this is why zakat really matters, and that's why it's one of the 5 pillars of Islam. And one of them, one day Prophet Musa was teaching Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's laws to his people. One of the Bani Israel asked him, "Man, is there another man on earth that has..." The man said, "Is there any other man on earth that has more knowledge than you?" Musa replied, "No." Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala informed him, no man could have all of the knowledge in the world. One man named Khidr had some knowledge that he did not have. Musa was he had Khidr. The Prophet Khidr had more knowledge and knew some stuff Prophet Musa did not know. So Prophet Musa was interested to meet him. Some historians say he went to Khartoum in Sudan, where Nile River split, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told him to take a fish with him wherever he would lose the fish. That was the place where he would find Khidr alayhi salam. The next day he started his journey with a young boy named Prophet Musa alayhi salam. They reached a place where 2 rivers met and decided to rest there. Until Musa alayhi salam fell asleep. Prophet Musa alayhi salam saw the fish skip to the river and swim away. On its way, a hole was created and it looked like a tunnel. He waited for Musa alayhi salam to get up to inform him about the fish, but when he woke up, Musa alayhi salam forgot to tell him. So they continued their journey for a long time. When they became hungry, Musa alayhi salam asked for the food. Yusha immediately informed him about the fish. They went back to that place and found Khidr lying covered with a garment. They met each other. Prophet Musa wanted to follow Khidr to learn some of his knowledge, but Khidr warned him that he would have to keep his patience. Prophet Musa promised to keep his patience and did not disturb him. So both of them started to walk along the shore and got into a boat. They saw a bird drinking water from the sea. Khidr compared Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's knowledge to the seawater, and our knowledge is as literal as the bird drinking from water from the sea. Suddenly he made a hole in their boat. Prophet Musa could not keep his patience and started to blame Khidr. Khidr reminded him his promise, and Musa became sorry. And they started to walk and saw a boy playing. Khidr held the boy and killed him. To see that horrible thing, Musa then killed him. Then Musa saw that horrible thing and broke his promise again. He started to blame Khidr for his action. Khidr again reminded him his promise, and Prophet Musa became sorry. He also requested that Khidr to give him a last chance. They started walking to a village, and then they asked the villagers for some food, but they refused. They were very bad people. Then they saw an old wall which could break any time. So he started to fix that wall as a free of charge. Prophet Musa broke his promise again and asked why he was doing free work for bad people. He even did not give any food to them. Finally, Khidr told Musa to leave him because he kept on breaking his patience. When Prophet Musa saw Khidr's actions were not normal, as a prophet, he immediately complained about his actions. And then, before they separated from each other, Khidr explained to Prophet Musa why he did all that. First, there was a bad king who started to collect all the good boats from the river. Then the boat's owners were very poor. To save that boat from that king, he made a small crack in it. Second, he killed the boy because he would grow up, he would be an unbeliever and a very bad person in the society. Even though his parents were very, very religious and good people. Therefore, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala decided to kill that bad boy and give a very good boy to the parents who would take care of his parents. Third, he fixed a wall with no cost because the owners of the wall were two kids. They did not have a father and mother, but they were very good religious people. Under that wall, their parents hid some treasures for them. If that wall would break, people would take away their treasures, so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala decided to protect their treasures until they grew up. One there were different miracles that were proving the existence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The Pharaoh was afraid that he was going to lose his kingdom because of Prophet Musa. So Pharaoh and his advisors decided to kill Prophet Musa. The Quran says one of his advisors did not agree with Pharaoh because he was a believer in his heart. He proved to Pharaoh that it was not a good idea to kill Musa. And Pharaoh asked why. The good advisor said because he only said Allah was one and only God. He even showed a clear sign for his prophethood. If he lied, he would be responsible for his lie. But if he was truthful and we kill him, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's punishment will come to us. Pharaoh was very angry with him, but he was very brave and warned them not to bring trouble to him. And then later Pharaoh and his people planned to kill that believer. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala saved him. The Quran did not mention how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala saved him, but Prophet Musa repeated his demand from Pharaoh to release the children of Israel from slavery. So Pharaoh called all the people from Egypt. In that big gathering, Pharaoh reminded them, I am your God because I am rich, and I am providing all your needs. However, Prophet Musa is poor and he does not have a boat. He doesn't even have angels who follow him. People agreed with the Pharaoh. They thought a leader should be rich and provide all their needs. Therefore, they obeyed Pharaoh and ignored Prophet Musa. The Pharaoh kept on refusing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and killed the children of Israel for his bad actions. For then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent the first punishment to Egypt, the drought. The water supply went low in the Nile River and the land became very dry. They started suffering because their food wasn't growing, but the Pharaoh remained arrogant. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent the second punishment for Egypt, a huge flood. Their land was underwater. They could not use their land for farming. And when the Egyptians were in big trouble, they requested Prophet Musa to save them from the flood. And then they promised to believe in him and let the children of Bani Israel go. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala removed his punishment from them, so they started living a normal life. And Prophet Musa reminded them to fulfill their promise. They refused and broke their promise again. They broke the promise to release the children of Israel. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent the third punishment, the grasshoppers, to destroy the Egyptians' crops. Then the grasshoppers ate whatever crops grew. So they came to Prophet Musa again to remove Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's punishment, and they said they wouldn't break their promise this time. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala removed the punishment, but they broke the punishment again. And then they broke the punishment so many times. After that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent the fourth punishment to the Egyptians, the lice, and spread the disease. As usual, they again promised to Prophet Musa that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala removed the punishment, and they broke the promise again. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent the fifth punishment for them, which was many frogs. They jumped on their foods, shared their houses, and started to give them lots of pain. Not shared. They again promised to Musa that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala removed the punishment, and they broke their promise again. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent the sixth punishment for them, the sign of blood. The Nile water was changed into blood for Prophet Musa and his people. And then it was just water with it was just water, but for the Egyptians, when they filled their cup with water, it turned into blood. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala then again Prophet promised to Musa that Allah subhanahu to remove the punishment. Each punishment was greater than its previous punishment, so they would believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and follow his orders. But they kept continuing their bad actions. They always called Prophet Musa a magician. So Pharaoh became more arrogant, and he told his people, the Pharaoh said, "Am I not the king of this kingdom? And the river flowing under me, don't you see that? Am I not greater than Musa?" Pharaoh even claimed that Prophet Musa was not a good speaker. In this whole time, only a few Bani Israel accepted Islam, young Bani Israel, and the rest were scared to announce themselves as Muslims because of Pharaoh's cruel punishment. Musa and Harun built some houses for their worship to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It was clear that the Pharaoh would never believe in Musa and he would never stop the torture to the Bani Israel. So Musa prayed to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to destroy Pharaoh and his advisors' wealth and gave them a very painful punishment before they believed in the creator Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.